Hello everyone, welcome to Shadow Work 102. If you are in this class, it's because you passed the assessment to be admitted. And if you were put in this class mistakenly and this is not where you wanted to be, or maybe you wanted to be in 101 instead, please just let me know. It's no big deal. We can get you switched over. This week, we are going to be doing an introduction. We'll also kind of quickly, and I mean very quickly, review Shadow Work 101, and we will also talk about what root work is. So let me just give you a brief introduction to myself. If you have had me in classes before, then you're already familiar with me. My name is Carla, or Professor Carla, whatever you prefer to call me. Either way works for me. And I am a green/kitchen witch. I also consider myself to be a little bit eclectic as I kind of pull from different pathways as well, whatever resonates with me. I am a mother. I have a 3-year-old daughter. I've got 2 dogs. I also have a husband. So it's pretty crazy around here a lot of the time. With that being said, it tends to get loud here. I'm sure it's already kind of been loud. There's always some sort of background noise. I try to kind of eliminate that as much as I can, but it's just not always possible. Just because I do have a child, so it tends to stay loud here. So just kind of bear with me. If you hear a lot of noise in the background, just try to tune it out. And I'm really sorry about that. I know it doesn't always make for a really aesthetic environment or pleasing sound, but there's not much I can do. So, let's talk about our syllabus really quickly. So, in this class, we are going to be doing a really deep dive into your shadow self, and we're going to be performing what's known as root work, which most people are not very familiar with this. But we're going to be confronting and dealing with trauma head on and trying to heal that. Also, this is a good point for me to mention that all of the assignments for this class are mandatory and they will be graded. If you don't turn in your assignments, you will be dropped from the course. And I do need your assignments to be turned in on time. With that being said, like, I'm human as much as you are. So if something happens and it's going to be late or whatever the case may be, please just let me know, because there's going to be times where I'm behind as well. You know, obviously this is an online academy, but we all have other things going on too. So I'm really understanding as long as you communicate with me. If I don't hear from you and you just don't do an assignment at all, I'm just going to assume that you chose not to do it, and it's just going to be marked as a 0. Okay. I'm sorry to do it that way, but that's kind of the only way I can do it. So just communicate with me and let me know what's going on. And as long as it's not a consistent thing and, you know, it just happens sometimes, because it does happen. It's not a big deal. It really isn't. But the passing of this class is going to be mandatory to be admitted to any future classes, any future upper level shadow work courses. Okay, so far as course materials, I actually would suggest that you have 2 separate note-taking sources, like if you want to use actual notebooks or if you want to use note-taking apps. I think I've said it before, but there's some people who actually created their own private servers just for their notes. Whatever works for you. One will just be for class notes as we're learning how to use this different materials. The other one is going to be for your Book of Shadows or your shadow work. I know some people don't really assemble their Book of Shadows until they've gone through their shadow work and then they kind of put it all together. But you'll definitely need something to put your shadow prompts in. Okay, so let's talk about what you can expect. On Tuesdays, I'll be posting a link to our video class on YouTube. If you've had me before, then you know how my classes function. I always do YouTube videos with voiceovers. There'll be slides. Sometimes I include little short videos. But I do this just because trial and error and what seems to work best with students the most. And I know it's not best for everyone, but I'm kind of trying to use the majority here. So the plus side about doing them this way is you don't have to attend class at a certain time. And you can also go back and reference the class anytime that you would like to. So if you want to re-listen to it or if you need to pause and come back, you can definitely do that. So this seems to work best. Also, on Fridays, I'll post a weekly shadow prompt for you to complete. I will tell you this, for Shadow Work 102, if you've had 101, they're normally fairly, I don't want to say easy prompts, but they tend to be a little bit faster to answer. With 102, you can expect a little bit of a deeper question that might take you a little bit longer to answer and might be a little bit more difficult. But just as I'm going to do with my Shadow Work 101 classes, you can choose to share this prompt with the class, or you can keep it private, whatever you prefer. I am not going to be grading your responses to the shadow prompt. If you choose to submit them, I would be willing to consider them for extra credit. But you absolutely don't. This is a very personal journey. And some of these responses may not be something you want to share with everyone. So I am not going to require you to post that publicly. It also may not be something you feel comfortable sharing with me. And that's okay too. So again, you don't have to share your shadow prompt responses in the homework channel, but you're welcome to if you'd like. If you do share them there, I'd be willing to consider that for extra credit if you choose to, if you'd like for me to. We can discuss that later if you'd like. And you are only going to have one prompt per week. I believe in previous semesters, the professor was doing a prompt a day. I am not going to be doing that because this root work class is really hard. We're going to be talking about a lot of really deep wounds. And to be honest with you, trying to answer a prompt about those subjects once a day, it's just too hard. Okay. It's just too hard. And I don't want to overwhelm you all. So we're not going to do that every single day, just once a week. So as far as your assignments go, there are going to be weekly homework assignments. Those will just be questions that I give you at the end of every class. And I also will probably do quizzes from here, like here and there. Any homework assignments that I posted are going to be mandatory. Okay. Most of the homework questions, like if I ask you homework questions at the end of a class, those are all your opinions. Okay. There's no right or wrong answer, and it's pass or fail. There's not going to be like that's a halfway good answer, so you get half a point. It's not going to work like that. As long as you answer the questions and I can tell you put some thought and effort into it, then you'll get a passing grade for that assignment. Now, if I do post quizzes, those are going to be graded on correctness. So just remember that. And the last thing that we're going to do for this class so far as assignments is going to be a final project. And for the final project, what I want you to do is to give me a depiction of your shadow self. You can write a narrative or you can draw a portrait. Honestly, any medium that you prefer works for me. I just want to see that you have at some point gotten in tune with your shadow self and really confronted who that is, what that is. And I want to know that you can see what that looks like, or at least understand what that would look like. So, like I said, write it out, draw it, a portrait, anything, whatever works for you. And this is going to be graded on a scale for me, and it's going to be graded based on creativity, completeness, and understanding. I want to be able to see, or at least read, however you chose to do it, that you have an understanding of the shadow and its elements, okay? And the different traumas that could occur. If this project becomes very personal for you and you don't want to share that with the class, that's really okay. What I was trying to do was keep this to where it could be less obvious to everyone what you've experienced in your life, but obvious enough to me that you understood the class. We don't need to know everything that's happened to you in your life. That's very personal unless you want to share that. That's totally up to you. So if it is something that you don't feel comfortable sharing, please just send it to me privately. I promise you that nothing you send me privately will ever be seen by anyone's eyes but mine and yours. I will never ever share anything you send me privately. Even messages, things like that, unless it pertains to someone else's safety or your own safety. There will never be anything like that, okay? Everything's confidential that you send between me and you. I also included the grading scale on here. So if you're in college or you're familiar with college courses, the grading scale is very similar to that. So you can review that whenever you'd like to. So let's quickly go over what our course schedule is going to be. So this week, we are going to be doing a quick review of Shadow Work 101 and what is root work. Next week, we're going to be talking about money and survival wounds. The following week, is going to be probably a very long class. I'm actually considering breaking it up into 2 classes. I'll keep you posted on that though. We're going to be talking about the wounded child and the inner child. To be totally honest with you, the inner child is such a huge subject. It could probably be its own course. And in the future, we might do that. But we're going to just kind of give a brief overview of what those wounds are. Week 4, I will actually be out on vacation. However, someone will post this lesson for me. You will still get your lesson. Week 4, we're going to be talking about fears, anger, and stress. During week 5, we're going to be talking about fresh trauma. People have a tendency to think that trauma in your shadow self only happens from your childhood or your younger years. And we're going to discuss whether or not that's true. Week 6, we're going to talk about triggers, mirroring, and projection. Week 7, we're going to discuss healing, coping, and understanding. And then during week 8, we're going to talk about self-reliance, optimism, and the present. Okay. The very last week of class, we won't have any formal classes. And your final project is going to be due, and I have the date wrong on here, so I'm really sorry about that. But your final project will actually be due on July 31st. Like I said, the date is wrong on our syllabus, and I'm so sorry about that. So if you were in the summer semester of 2021, the final project is due by July 31st, not the 25th. Okay, let's go ahead and get into our material for this week. Let's get started. So let's do a quick review, and this is going to be quick, of Shadow Work 101. So what is the shadow self? It is the subconscious side of ourselves that stores rejected or repressed pieces of who we are, and that does involve positive and negative aspects of us. So what is shadow work? Shadow work is the exploration of that shadow, confronting it and accepting it, but also the healing of those wounds. Why do we do this? Why do we do shadow work? Basically, it's to live fuller lives. It is to understand ourselves. It's to heal ourselves. It's to let go of those painful memories, that painful trauma, to really find out who we are and be able to connect our lives better with every other thing around us. What are the benefits of shadow work? If you are doing your shadow work and you are really committed to it and you're really being truthful and honest with yourself, you're going to see improved self-confidence, improved relationships. You are going to accept yourself as who you are, and all the things that you have considered flaws before are just going to be part of who you are. You might also see improved health, but also improved self-awareness. Now, in this class, we're going to be doing root work. So what is root work? Root work is much deeper than typical shadow work. What we're going to do is, instead of just identifying this problem you're having, we're not going to say, oh, this thing makes me angry. I don't like it when X thing happens. We are going to go back further than that. We're going to go back and find out what triggered you to get angry about that. Where did this begin? We're going to go as deep as we can go. It is understanding how your shadow was formed. It's not just understanding what your shadow is, but how it became to be. This is a very huge discovery and exploration of some deep wounds. Most of the time, you're going to find that reactions that you have to things, those just didn't come from anything. More often than not, they can be traced back to a pivotal moment or something in your life that made you start reacting that way. It's hard to find those moments, and sometimes you'll find yourself getting angry with whoever was involved. It's very difficult. It is going to be a hard process. But we are going to confront these traumatic moments, these hard times of your life. We're going to confront them head on. We are going to talk to them. We're going to see where you fall in all of this. And we're going to understand your role in that trauma. Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying that we're going to understand your fault in the trauma. we're going to understand what role you played in it. And that may be the victim. Okay? And no one wants to be a victim. But for example, things that happened in your childhood, if an adult did something to you, you were a child. That will never be your fault. You were a victim. There was someone older and more experienced about life that should have done better by you. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to figure those things out. And that revolves around most of the wounds that we're going to discuss, not just the inner child. That's all we have for today. Let's talk about our homework questions. Number 1, what has shadow work meant to you, and how has it helped you up to this point? Okay, so number 2, without giving us any details, do you have wounds that are unexplored that you're really hoping to uncover in this class? And how do you think you would benefit from the discovery and exploration of those wounds? Like I said, you don't have to give us any details about these incidents if you don't want to. You're welcome to, but you don't have to. But just without giving too much detail, just try to answer the question the best that you can. Okay, so that's all we have for today. I know this was a quick one. I'm trying to keep the classes a little bit shorter. But if you all have any questions or anything, please do reach out to me. Otherwise, I will catch you all next week. Bye.